Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Anna.
We're the Hutchinsons.
We own Hutchinson Maple Products in Lake Paul, Nova Scotia, and we're the largest certified organic maple producers in the province of Nova Scotia.
For over 21 years on the road, running a successful trucking business, we've had quite a journey that has taken us home here to Hutchinson Acres.
This is our story.
We hear a lot about reducing our carbon footprint on the planet, from our roadways, infrastructure, landfills, to renewable energy. Hutchinson Maple Products want to promote the maple syrup industry as a way to reduce our carbon footprint.
So a tree will absorb excess CO2, which is one of the main causes of global warming and climate change. So what it does is it takes in the CO2 in the air and stores it in its roots and trunk, leaves, like all of the woody parts of the tree. Then it will sequester it until the tree dies, and then it will be released slowly over decades or centuries. So forests mitigate global warming by taking in more CO2 than it releases. A tree's maximum absorption of CO2 is when it's in full growth, at its peak growth period, which is 50 to 80 years. So when you remove it, you're preventing the tree from absorbing the CO2.
Hutchinson Maple Products are promoting keeping the forests intact, having many old-growth trees alongside the newer ones, as well as keeping a diversity in the sugar bush is key to a healthy forest.
Here's an example here of a maple tree that's over 100 years old, that has years and years, probably 40, 50, maybe even 60 years more left of productive life. This is going to produce a lot of maple syrup in the latter part of its life. So the younger a maple tree, the less it will produce. So as they age, they increase their production and they produce a better quality of syrup, we believe. What we've got here is a yellow birch tree that's probably 150, 160, 170 years old. And as you can see, going close by, there's lots of nice healthy maples that are going to replace this in probably the next 20 or 30 years when this finally falls over and dies from old age. We have an Acadian forest in Nova Scotia. It is unique. Other growing regions that produce maple syrup have the pleasure of having almost solid blocks of maple. So here in Nova Scotia, we like to maintain at least 10%, more like 15 or 20% in off-species in our woods. And what this does, it creates a good balance in our maple woods. So we don't have just one species of tree that will have problems with caterpillars or something like that in a later date. So this kind of helps protect our woods and keep it good and healthy.
A healthy woods is key to reducing our carbon footprint.
A tree's weight is consistent of 50% carbon. So like the bigger the tree, the more carbon that's stored in it. And so if you remove it, you're removing like hundreds of years of carbon storage, possibly. So with the maple sugar bush, we're promoting more carbon storage because we have to wait at least 40 years to use a tree.
Many industries that clear the forest create a bigger carbon footprint.
So all those trees are releasing all their carbon all at once into the air. When you take a log and you turn it into whatever you're going to make it in, whether it's like paper or furniture or just like 2x4 for building, you're releasing like 70% of that log's carbon into the air, like within like a few short years. And then the rest of it gets left on the forest floor.
And that can cause another major factor in climate change: wildfires. Though forest fires are a natural part of forest renewal, the frequency in which they are happening today isn't natural.
In a clear-cut scenario, you're removing that top story of trees, so you're fully exposing the soil to the sun and heat, which significantly increases the temperature compared to like the other areas, which increases your chances of wildfires. Also, you're leaving 50% of the tree behind, your branches and any pieces that are too small or not good enough to make a log out of. and that just gets left on the forest floor. And so that dries out, and now there's more fuel on the ground for wildfires to fuel themselves off of, creating bigger fires that last longer. The forest is burning. All that carbon that's stored in those logs are all released at once in like a matter of days. A forest like this mitigates wildfire because it keeps the ground moist, and also any trees that fall over and are sitting, they stay moist and decompose, or they don't just dry out and act as fuel.
The carbon footprint maple syrup production creates is also minimal.
Any CO2 we produce is eliminated because all the trees that we have reabsorb that carbon.
Which makes for a healthier planet both for us and the wildlife.
What I've seen so far, maple syrup production is the biggest promoter of climate change prevention because it promotes the conservation of forests, and as a result, it protects our air, wildlife, and waterways.
Next week on Hutchinson Acres. We are in the kitchen with Leanne as she makes a twist on a Canadian classic.